Researchers show roughly 15 million Americans have food allergies and nearly 6 million are children under the age of 18. It's a diagnosis that's pretty hard to screen. The Now's Ray Daniel tells us why and what you need to know if you're struggling with food allergies.
Food allergies, a diagnosis that impacts roughly 1 in 13 children or 2 in every classroom.
Food allergy is very discreet, so you ingest the food and then you have a reaction, usually immediately, always within 2 hours.
According to a new report from the American Academy of Pediatrics, healthcare providers may not be able to distinguish between food allergies, lactose intolerance, or a viral illness. That's because there's no accurate screening tool to diagnose food allergies.
We can't do a battery of food allergy tests and say you shouldn't eat this food or you should eat this food, because there's a high rate of false positives with food allergy testing.
It's something Emily Brown can relate to.
At age 1, she was allergic to milk, eggs, wheat, soy, and peanuts. One of the things I noticed at our first visit to an allergist was that some of the testing that was done in primary care came back with false negatives, or they were not able to read the testing properly.
Learning more about her daughter's allergies and what she couldn't eat was shocking.
It was just a shock to our pocketbook.
That's when Brown decided to do something about it while helping others along the way, opening up a food allergy pantry.
I know what it's like for there to be no resource, for you to need help, and to be a mother whose child is sick and to not be able to provide what your child needs. That is a feeling that no mother should ever have to feel. Ever.
When it comes to allergies, one of the biggest recommendations allergists say is writing down any exposure your child may have had.
Especially ingestion. Ingestion is the most important route of exposure.
For the Now KC, I'm Ray Daniel.
You know, when it comes to food allergies, doctors say you should really notice a reaction usually within 2 hours. If your child has a serious allergic reaction, get treatment immediately.